People talk a lot about the fear of dying, but I think there's a more honest fear there, and that's the fear of just getting older. And not dying, not yet. Just waking up one day and realizing that you don't recognize that person that you see in the mirror. There is this YouTuber that goes around, his name is William Rossi. Anyway, he goes around asking pretty much older people how old they are and what it feels like. So today, I'm asking myself what it feels like to be 75, or what it feels like just to be older. Now, I've got some notes here with me because at my age, it's kind of easy to forget what it is that I really want to say. But before I get too far into it, let me ask you this. How old are you? Uh, Sit with that feeling for just a minute. And how does it feel different than it was maybe 10 years ago? How does your body differ? What do you worry about now that you didn't before? What things have you maybe let go of in your life? Now, if you can, project yourself out 10 or 20 years in the future. Can you do it? Maybe you feel more reflective, or maybe it's difficult for you to do that. For me, it kind of is. I'd rather not do that because, well, I think it's because how I feel is like nothing I was ever ready for. I think we watched as people before us got older, but it still surprises us when it happens to us. So I want to share parts of my journey, the physical changes, the emotional shifts, some mental things, changes in my expectations, my dreams, and my daily routines. Hopefully, it'll answer some of the questions that you may have if you're younger about what it's like to get old. And if you're older, it's easy to think that you're all alone in your journey, but you're not. And by my connecting with you here, perhaps you'll feel a little more understood and a little bit less alone. So here's a look at my progression from my 40s on. In my 40s, things didn't suddenly fall apart. It was more like a loosening. I couldn't read the menus anymore. My body, after a workout, my muscles stayed sore for days on end, and my energy dipped. And right about the time that I felt that I had something to say, fewer and fewer people were asking. My 50s, though, that was the hardest transition decade for me. A lot of things started screaming at me. I remember the first time when I definitely felt I was over the hill. That was in my 50s. Also in my 50s, this invisibility factor started creeping in. It probably was there in my 40s, but I just pretended that it wasn't. My first real memory of invisibility was I was probably in my late 50s. Anyway, I was doing a home remodel. So I went to the building department with my plans in hand. It was very uncrowded that day. There was just one other guy behind me, a younger man, waiting with me. Anyway, we were waiting at the counter, and after a while, the clerk came up, and I started to hand my plans to her. And she looked right past me to the guy behind me and said, "Can I help you?" I thought, "Wait a minute, I'm right here. Here's my plans." She goes, "Oh my God, I'm sorry. I didn't even see you there." Well, no kidding. Now, I'm sure that was an honest mistake. She meant nothing by it. But it certainly was a moment that I realized something was shifting. It wasn't that I was being ignored, it was just that I was being looked past or right through. Now, soon, of course, it starts happening everywhere. And I guess you get used to it. Still, though, even though over time you're getting used to it, you still feel that aging is something that happens to everyone else, not you. You still identify with the younger crowd, right? I remember another time I was at an event. It was a big conference and lots of people there. And I looked around and I noticed, gosh, everyone is a lot younger than I am. As I looked again, there were a few older people there. Well, this really old guy, it came up to me and said, people our age must feel really out of place here, right? I thought, he thinks that he and I are the same age? Well, later I found out that we definitely weren't the same age. He was younger than I was. Aging. So reality was seeping in, maybe even crashing into me. Let me ask you, when did you first realizing that getting older wasn't just happening to others? Let me know in the comments. Oh, and also in our 50s, our bodies start rebelling and our hearing starts going. What was that again? Became my conversation starter whenever I was in a group setting. And also, I was once really handy around the house. But those DIY projects, they're not nearly as enjoyable when everything hurts. Back in college, man, I was an athlete. I did track and field, high jump, pole vault. I played college basketball, team high scorer. And that competitive nature, well, it lingers with you for a long time. But in time, these things start to fade. Your ability to do those things that you used to goes away on you. So, what I do? Well, I turn to golf. And by the time I retired, I was golfing every single day. I even made it a goal to shoot my age. Yeah, it's a thing. And I got close until my legs got all wonky on me, and that dream died. I found this golf ball the other day. It's a memory of a round that my son and I played together. My son made me this golf ball. Let me show it to you. It was at Eagle Valley, and I shot a 71 in a par 72. Well, those days are gone. This golf ball holds more than just a memory of a score. It holds a version of me that doesn't really exist anymore. Things change. Your health changes, and sometimes you can't do a thing about it. My legs still work, they just not enough for this. Yeah, so physical changes, health issues, they can become an issue. And sometimes our doctor becomes our best friend or our worst enemy, depending. I'm the only one left in my family of 6. So, what do I do? Well, I try to stay active, but that can be a challenge sometimes. I'm doing my best, whatever it takes, because I don't want to slow to a stop. That's the killer, as they say. Years ago, if I didn't if I didn't run or speed walk 5 miles, I wouldn't even call it exercise. I had a friend in her 40s, and she used to say that 5 minutes on a rebounder was great. I scoffed at that. Now, for me, well, some days when it's not going so well, I say that a walk jog around the kitchen island and the dining room table doing figure eights is plenty. Now, you may scoff at that, and I don't blame you. I probably deserve it. But you know what? I'm okay with that because things do change. Look, I haven't even mentioned things like major illnesses or losing our independence, or maybe sometimes losing our homes, or running out of money, or people who can care for us. Not to mention the loneliness we can feel when we're just not needed anymore. Not much can be worse than that. But here's the thing. Everything I've been talking about so far is not the end of the story. Not at all. Getting older has many advantages. So let me share with you some of the opposites. The dreams, the plans, the activities that keep me going. Because often it's about what we choose to focus on, finding new actions that replace the ambitious stuff of our younger years. Aging simply is not all bad. In fact, a lot of it is pretty darn good. Things that weren't even hinted at when I was younger. The thing I love the most, I think, is the freedom. That I don't have to answer to others anymore. I don't have to explain myself to anyone. Yeah, things have narrowed, but I feel liberated. It's more about the simple pleasures, isn't it? I think what we do is we redefine what happiness and success means to us. And that's not cheating, that's wisdom, that's becoming mature. And it's all good. And speaking of maturity, I've noticed something that we older people will say when we get asked about advice for younger people. What we say often is, don't worry about pleasing others. And if you're younger, you might be saying, ah, yes, that's what makes you older folks so annoying. Well, I used to feel that way a lot myself. But dropping the need to please or perform for others, for me, is quite liberating. So, if you can, I hope you can forgive us for being just a little bit annoying from time to time. And as I continue aging, I don't see things as getting worse. It means I can notice things more: a sunrise, a quiet room, having nothing to do, seeing an owl up in the hollow of a tree. It's the kind of peace that in years past I didn't even know existed. Yeah, my younger self wouldn't have understood these advantages, and yet here they are right now. And this that you and I are doing right now, the reflecting, there's a richness in that act that transcends the physical feats that used to be so important in our youth. Yeah, I don't see my life as shutting down. It's just entering new vistas. It's opening new doors. I think about my legacy now, my contributions, my mentoring, my being present. These aren't lesser things, they're just different things. And they're just as rewarding as things of old, maybe even more so because we have more time. So, this is what I'd tell my young 26-year-old William Rossi when he wonders what it's like to be 75. It feels like freedom. It feels new. It feels like hope returning. Does this feel right to you? I'd like to know what your journey is like. Share with me in the comments. And I'll see you in the next video.